So a few weeks ago, I drove out to photograph a truly magical part of eastern Washington called the Palouse. Now, at first glance, you'd think you were in Tuscany with all of the rolling hills and farms. This shoot was somewhat unique in that I only used one lens the entire time, my Sony 100 to 400 millimeter. But this video isn't about that lens. Instead, it's about a filter that I used the entire time that was as integral. In fact, I'd go so far as to say that my photos wouldn't be half as good if I didn't use them. The filter I'm referring to is a polarizer filter. In my case, I'm using a magnetic linear polarizer by Maven Filters. In my opinion, if there is one filter that you can pack in your bag, it should be a polarizer. And it's something that you should always have with you because of how versatile it is. Now, I've been using Maven Filters for several years, and I love them. They have great craftsmanship, quality is great, and they have an amazing range of filters. Now, even though Maven sent me these filters years ago, they're not sponsoring this video, they didn't ask me to create it, and they have no input in it. However, you should also know that I rarely feature hardware in this channel, and if I do, it's because I use it a bunch and I can vouch for the quality. So in this video, I'll show you a bit about my linear polarizer by Maven, and then I'll compare the edit of a photo that I took with it and one without it. All right, let's dive in. All right, so here we are in Lightroom, and you can see I've got two photos here. They're identical for the most part. I think the camera moved a tiny bit. But in this photo here, you can see I engage the polarizer. And then watch when I disengage it. Do you see how flat it looks and the colors are not as punchy? Let me go ahead and I'll compare the two. We'll put them side by side. It'll be a lot easier to see it this way. But look at this. Like you can see, like just look at in the foreground, how much more vivid it looks over here. The greens really pop. You can see more contrast in the photo. Look at the shadows over here in the rolling hill. And overall, you know, without the polarizer, I could have edited the photo here. I mean, it's fine. Compositionally, it's fine. But the polarizer, because of the angle that I was at with respect to the sun, it seriously made the photo. All right, so you might have heard me say that I'm using a linear polarizer filter, and that might have caused something in your head to go off because you're like, wait, I have a circular polarizer, so do I need to go out and buy a linear? No. Linear polarizers are better suited for mirrorless cameras, but circular polarizers work just fine. I'm not going to pretend to understand like why the circular polarizer came about, but I believe it has to do with the autofocusing system of DSLR cameras. So when those rose in popularity, the linear polarizer, which was around for a long time, I guess it did something with the autofocusing system, I think. But that's why circular polarizers were created. Now, though, with mirrorless cameras, they're not affected by that. So linear polarizers are just, I guess they're better suited. Again, you don't need to get a linear polarizer, but this is my linear polarizer right here. This is the polarizer by Maven, like I mentioned. As you rotate the polarizer, it either engages or disengages. Polarizers are most effective when you are 90 degrees from the sun. So if the sun is in front of you or behind you, then the polarizer will be most effective to the left or to the right. And it's especially effective when you want to cut out reflections from like surface of water or windows, but it also brings out contrast and color, as you saw in your scenes. And the Palouse, given how verdant it is, how green it is, and also just how much of those rolling hills there are, this thing paid with dividends. So like, I felt badly because I saw a bunch of photographers. There were a bunch of photographers there, and I don't think I saw just about no one. In fact, I don't think I saw a single person using a filter. And I was watching. So this is again the linear polarizer, and one of the things I love, first of all, about Maven Filters, again, not sponsored, but I love these guys, is that it's magnetic. So that's it. You know, you put your magnetic adapter ring on your lens, and you just snap it on. And the best part is this is the circular polarizer. So they make a circular and a linear, is that they can magnetize together. Now here's a really cool thing. If you happen to have the circular and the linear polarizer, basically what you have with these two filters is a variable ND filter. So this is the circular polarizer. If I put that on the lens first, and then I put the linear polarizer on top of it, you probably can't see it. Let's see, maybe the camera will focus. There are these little numbers over here. And so if I rotate the linear polarizer Basically, I can engage between 1.5 and 5 stops of variable ND, which is super cool. It's just a nice little bonus if you happen to have those filters together. I just use regular ND filters, also by Maven. I use the 3, the 6, and the 10. They even have ND filters that have polarizers combined. So it's a combo ND and polarizer. Those are what I use the most if I know that I need to drag my shutter. But if I'm just going out and I know it's not going to be kind of a long exposure day, I'll just take my linear polarizer. Again, like I said, if there's going to be anything that you take away from this video, always pack a polarizer, whether it's a circular or a linear, doesn't matter. You should always have it with you. All right, so again, really quickly, just to look at this, just to show you all I did. The only difference here was I engaged the polarizer here and then I disengaged it on the right and I took the same photo. And so again, you can see just how much of a difference just the polarizer makes. Like these are both unedited photos. All right, so let's edit this photo. It's going to be pretty straightforward. I'm going to start by applying the adaptive color profile. It looks really good. You can just see like what a great job it does in bringing out tone and color. I'm also going to push the whites out a bit and the blacks. And let's drop those shadows, not too much, somewhere right around here, because I'm going to deepen the shadows with the curves next. Actually, let me also go to the white balance dropper, and I'm going to balance right off of that. Nice. That does a nice job of warming up the image. All right, under curves, let's add a precious, beloved S-curve. Get some of that really nice contrast. So something like this. Let's soften those blacks up by introducing a bit of gray, so right around there. And also, anytime you make curves adjustments, it adds a color boost, so I'm going to drop that refine saturation slider by about half. All right, next thing, we'll go to the color calibration panel. If you don't see this panel, it's because it's hidden by default in Lightroom. Go to the try dot here on the right toolbar and make sure that show color calibration is selected. Oh, and one quick thing, even though this channel is pretty much all about Lightroom, everything I show you in here as far as this edit workflow can be done in Lightroom Classic. And so let's go ahead here. Let's increase the blue primary saturation slider and the green primary saturation slider. Like that looks good right there. Let's see the effect. You probably can't see it. And in case you don't know what the calibration sliders do, I will leave a link at the end of this video to another one where I deep dive into that panel. All right, so the one local edit that I want to make is up here. You can see how you have this really nice pleasing contrast, and then it gets a bit kind of soft and hazy up here. And that's fine. That's kind of that was the weather at the time, but we can adjust that. I'm going to go to the masking panel. Let's go to the linear gradient, and I'm just going to add a linear gradient, pretty much the top third of the photo. And the only thing I'm going to do is go to dehaze under the effects panel, and I'm going to add a bit of a dehaze boost to kind of make it more even. And so you can see here, if we toggle this, see, it just does a nice job of evening it out. And don't forget, always rename your masks. So I'm going to say top third dehaze. Just makes it easier to identify what you've done if you come back to the photo in the future. All right, so back to the global edits here. We're pretty much done. I'm going to go down to effects again here. I'm going to add some texture throughout the whole photo because it's a very texture rich environment, as you can imagine, and a tiny touch of clarity just to bring out detail, especially in the foreground here. You can see just it snaps all of those really nice fine lines. Another thing we should do, let's enable lens correction. I should have done that earlier. I forgot, to be honest, but you can see it does a good job of correcting barrel distortion even with the 100 to 400. And then some sharpening. So let's drop radius to 0 or to 0.5 rather, detail to 100. Let's zoom in to 100% and go to an area that should have a lot of detail. Press and hold on the Option key while dragging, or Alt if you're on Windows, and pay very close attention because there's a lot of detail here and you don't want to over sharpen it. So right around there, and then just like before, zoom to fit, press and hold on the Option or Alt key, and then drag the masking slider until you get all of the rough, hard edges here. So this is showing me where sharpening is being applied. Pretty much anywhere there's white and anywhere there's black, sharpening is being removed. And so if we hit the backslash key, That was the unedited photo. This is the edited photo. I mean, it looks great. Now let's go ahead and copy these settings and apply them to the other photo where the polarizer was not engaged. To do that, I'm going to click on the gear icon here. The reason why is because I get this dialog, and then I'm going to click on this drop down and select modified. So what's going to happen is any tool that had an edit applied will have a checkbox selected, and you can see it's also going to select the mask. So let's go ahead and click on copy, and then let's go to this photo here. And then all you need to do is click on paste edit settings. And so now let's compare the two. Again, we'll go ahead and we'll put them side by side. And you can see overall, like if you didn't have a polarizer, sure, you get a decent result. But I find that the polarizer gives you so much better of a starting point, and you get certain qualities that you can try to replicate in post, but having them done in camera, especially bringing out that color boost, cutting out a lot of that haze, because there was haze. If you look at the unedited photo without the polarizer, there was haze, which got cut out, but it also adds this beautiful contrast to the photo. And that's why I honestly always pack my polarizer. I never go anywhere without the polarizer filter. All right, so I hope I made the case why it's really important to always have a polarizer filter with you. Again, if you have a circular, don't worry, you don't need to go out and buy a linear polarizer. Your circular will work just fine. It's just one of those filters. It's so versatile. And if you have different lenses with different filter diameters, what my recommendation is, do what I did. All I did was, these are two, again, my two polarizers. They're both 82 millimeter in diameter. And what I ended up doing was buying step-up rings. So if I have different filters with smaller diameters, I just use the step-up ring to go from that diameter. So from 77 up to 82 or 67 up to 82. Step-up rings are stupid cheap. So you can get like a whole set for like $12 on Amazon. And it allows you to use one filter across all of your lenses. And again, whether you're shooting, landscapes, you're shooting waterfalls, you're shooting even city streets with lots of reflective surfaces, a polarizer can be your best friend, especially if you use it in the right conditions to bring out color, to bring out contrast, and to remove those reflections. So again, I highly recommend always packing it with you. I'll leave a link to Maven Filters below. It's not even an affiliate link. It's just a link to their website, but at least you'll see the filter that I use if you want to check it out for yourself. Now, even though I went through that editing workflow pretty quickly, there's a ton to learn about Lightroom, desktop, mobile, and web. If you want to learn everything there is to know about that, please check out my course called Lightroom Everywhere. Link is in the description below. I mentioned how I have a video that walks through the calibration panel. That's right here, or you could see what YouTube thinks you might like. As always, a thumbs up is greatly appreciated, as is clicking on the subscribe button and the bell icon to get notified of all future videos. Thanks a lot, everyone.